It's the Atacama Desert in Chile, and this face has no skin. A black clay mask stares out with a frozen open mouth. This body is 7,000 years old. It is far older than any pharaoh who ever lived. Older than the oldest tomb along the Nile. These are the Chinchorro, the first people to defy death. They lived on this thin, dry coast of northern Chile. Behind them rose the driest desert on earth. Before them lay a cold and endless sea. They were fishers who never learned to farm. They speared fish and gathered shellfish from the rocks. They wove nets from cactus fiber and reeds. They carved sharp hooks from bone and shell. They owned almost nothing and left almost nothing behind. But they left us their dead. And their dead were made by human hands. 7,000 years ago, they began to build them. 2,000 years before Egypt ever tried. They did not simply dry their loved ones. They took them apart, piece by piece. First, they stripped away every scrap of skin. Then, they cut the flesh from the bare bones. They pulled the organs out through careful cuts. They emptied the skull of its soft insides. They dried each bone in the desert heat. They took a body down to its frame. Then slowly, they built the person back again. They lashed the bones to sticks for a spine. Reeds and grass filled the hollow chest and limbs. Bundles of reed rebuilt the shape of a living body. The empty skull was packed with plant fiber and ash. Then they wrapped the frame in the person's own skin. When their skin ran short, they used sea lion hide. Over all of it, they spread a thick, gray paste. Ash and manganese made a skin of smooth black. Others were coated in deep ochre red. On the face, they molded a smooth clay mask. Two small holes formed the eyes. A narrow slit opened the silent mouth. The mask held a face that had none. On top, they fixed a wig of human hair. Short black hair framed the blank clay face. The finished body looked like a dark, solemn statue. It could stand upright on its wooden frame. The living kept these figures close. They did not hide them away in the ground. The dead stayed among the tents and fires. They were carried, repaired, and repainted for years. A dead one was not an end, but a companion. The oldest of them are simple and black. The later ones grew red and refined. For thousands of years, the craft was passed down. Every generation learned to remake its dead. The most haunting of them are the smallest, for the Chinchorro made them of their babies. Tiny infants were taken apart and rebuilt. Their little bones were bound to thin sticks. Their small skulls were masked in clay. Some were newborns only days into the world. Some were unborn children lost before their birth. The very first they made were these children. The grief came before the pharaohs, before the pyramids. A drowned world may have taught them this. The desert itself preserved their earliest dead. The salt and dry air stopped all decay. Bodies simply did not rot in this ground. The living saw their dead refuse to vanish. So perhaps they chose to keep them forever. For millennia, they lay hidden in the sand. The desert sealed them in a silent tomb. Then, in 1917, they were found. A German archaeologist opened the coastal graves. Max Uhle unearthed rows of blackened bodies. More than 100 lay packed together. Men, women, and children lay side by side. All of them rebuilt in the same strange way. The sand had kept them whole for 7,000 years. Their masks were still fixed in place. Their wigs of black hair still clung to the clay. Even the smallest infants had survived. Since then, hundreds more have been found. They lie beneath the streets of Arica today. Builders still strike them digging foundations. The dead surface whenever the city breaks ground. Now scientists study them under bright light. They scan the fragile forms without a single cut. The scans reveal the sticks hidden inside. Wooden frames still brace each ancient spine. Reeds still fill each hollow limb. The masks are studied grain by grain. Their black coating is ash and dark manganese. Their red coating is iron-rich ochre. Their skin was sewn with fine, careful stitches. These were not crude or careless dead. Everyone was remade with patient, skilled hands. The bones tell of lives that were hard. Their ears were damaged by cold diving water. Years of diving deformed the inner ear. Their bones carried traces of desert poison. Arsenic seeped from the water they drank. It sickened the mothers and killed the unborn. Perhaps that endless loss began the practice, a grief so deep it would not let go. The dead show a people worn by the sea, bent spines from a lifetime bent over nets, strong arms from hauling boats and lines, teeth worn flat by grit and dried fish. These were the hands that built them. They knew the anatomy of death intimately. They understood the body as few ever have. Long before writing, before metal, before cities, a Stone Age people mastered the dead. They made their loved ones last forever. And forever is nearly what they achieved. 7,000 years. And the masks still hold. Today they rest in the museums of Arica. Rows of black faces behind quiet glass. Their open mouths still seem about to speak. Children lie beside their parents once again. The oldest artificial dead on the whole earth. Made by fishers who could not bear to lose them. Named a treasure of all humankind. A record older than every pyramid and tomb. They watched the Pacific for 7,000 years. And they watch it still, in their glass cases. Scientists still lift new bodies from the sand. The desert is not done giving up its dead. Each one rebuilt with the same ancient care. Each one a person taken apart and remade. Each one carried through years by loving hands. Now, the salt air threatens to undo them. The masks are beginning to slowly crumble. The skin blackens and dissolves into slime. What survived 7,000 years now decays. Keepers fight the damp to hold them together. They race to save what grief first preserved. Cold rooms now guard the ancient dead. The frames inside them still stand firm. The reeds inside still hold their shape. The bone beneath the clay endures. A person, taken apart and made whole. A face rebuilt over a fleshless skull, a mouth held open across 7,000 years. The Chinchorro would not let their dead go, so their dead never truly left. They are still here, on the same coast. Older than Egypt, older than the pyramids, older than writing, older than kings. Rebuilt from their own bones by hand. 2,000 years before Egypt wrapped a single king. The first people ever to master their own dead. A whole family of them still stands in the glass, waiting on the coast that made them, as they always have. And it began on this thin, dry coast of Chile, where a face with no skin still stares.